If you're a beginner video editor just getting started, please don't make these mistakes. First thing you need to do is make sure that you keep your files organized. It's so easy to just take the memory card out of your camera, put it in the back of your computer or into your laptop and just work on the footage straight away. But you need to make sure that you copy what's on that memory card, the footage that you need, onto an external hard drive or onto your computer first before you start working. Otherwise, when you finish your project and you unplug your memory card, you're going to be left with this message. And this is an editor's absolute nightmare. Whereas if you've copied all that footage across and then you take out your memory card, as long as that external hard drive is still plugged in or the footage is on your computer anyway, then you won't get that error message and you'll be all good. So here's a look at how I organize my footage in the Finder window first, before I import anything into Final Cut. So we're working on this small YouTube studio video, which I've already put out on my channel. Go check it out here. So here you can see I've organized it into audio from my microphone, downloads, which is just anything I've used for editing that I've downloaded off the internet to use as B-roll. And then in footage, I've got A-roll, which is my talking head piece like this. This is what you call A-roll. And B-roll, which is overlaid footage over the top of your A-roll, and then any little extra sort of iPhone footage that I've had to get, I've created a separate folder for that. So what I'll do in Final Cut is I'll change this. So this is an event, the standard default event that you get. I'll change the name of this to A-roll, and then I'll import media here and make sure you've selected the external hard drive that it's all saved on. I'll go to footage, small YouTube studio, footage, A-roll. Then within A-roll, there's everything there. So I'll select all using Command A. Then you want to import all that. So there you see A-roll, it's all there. Then same thing for B-roll, go to File, New, Event. I'll name this one B-roll. Then in B-roll, import media. I'll go back to footage, into B-roll, all my B-rolls there, so Command A, select all again, and I'll copy that in. Once that's all imported, you can see that my A-roll is all here. I can see all of my talking head pieces for that video. And then in B-roll, there's all my B-roll overlaying shots. That's all there. I won't bother with the iPhone footage because we don't really need that right now. But that is the best way that you can keep your footage as organized as possible within Final Cut. And then you're not messing around wondering what file's what. You can go to your events and you can just find exactly what you need. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is keyboard shortcuts. These can save so much time in the editing process. If you're clicking and moving the mouse all over the place, it can take a lot longer than things need to be. So the first one I'm going to run over is Command B, which cuts your footage. So here there's some dead air at the start, and I need to cut that down. So I just click my clip, Command B, it's cut, I delete that. It's as simple as that. Then at the end of the clip, your space for YouTube content. Again, select the clip, Command B, it cuts it there. Find where I come back in. So, around there, select the clip, Command B again, and then it should highlight that middle clip with all that dead air. Delete that, like that. For YouTube content. So, step number one. And there you go, it's already been cut just like that with a couple of clicks and a couple of taps on your keyboard. Another example of something I use is just pressing M, which adds a marker like this, and then you can edit what it says on your marker. So you can basically leave notes throughout your edit for yourself. So if there's anything you want to edit later on or something you want to focus on another time when you come back to it, you can add markers and write your notes. So I could, for example, put add B-roll here, and then that marker's there. And then to be able to see all your markers, you click index, click tags, and all your markers should appear here as a list. And then when you click them, so say if I'm over here somewhere and I'm like, oh, where's that marker? I go into my index tags, click add B-roll, it takes me to that marker on the timeline. And if you set a marker by accident, all you need to do is just double click on the marker, delete. Or you can simply do it from here with a backspace. Another shortcut I use is just pressing R. So this, as you can see, the mouse has changed. So normally it looks like that. You press R, it changes to that. All this basically does is you select an area, say for example here. And if I want to change the audio levels, volume wise, I can turn it up or down here. Say if it gets a little bit loud in a certain area and I want to turn it down, I can do that here. And then when I click away, so you press A to undo that. So say if you're on R and you're stuck there, you need to press A on your keyboard to go back to the normal mouse. And you click away, and as you can see, if I zoom in here, now I have a little fader, so it fades from there downwards. So step number one before we set. As you can see there, it gets quieter. You can have this as short or as long as you want. This is usually something I use for music that's in the background. If I want a section to have a lot of B-roll and there's no talking underneath, I can use that R tool and crank up the volume for if there's no talking and make the music the centerpiece. And then when I start talking again, I can drop the volume back down, etc, etc. A really simple one which kind of just works on everything is Command C, which is obviously copy, Command V, which pastes it, and Command Z, which undoes it. And you can also use Command X, which just cuts it, and then you can paste it. All those are standard. You kind of use those with lots of other softwares as well, not just Final Cut. But another really interesting thing that I like to use is, say I've added an audio preset, for example, onto a clip. Now, if I want to add that to all my talking clips, then you have to go through and you have to go on each individual clip, add it like that, and with each individual clip it just takes too long. Whereas if you have a clip exactly how you like it, it can be with audio or any sort of visual things on the screen. You can click on the clip, Command C, copy, and then you can click on the clip that you want to apply those things to, highlight it, Command Shift V, and this pops up here. So as you can see, they're the effects that I have on that preset from that other clip. And also you can copy video attributes as well, and you paste that, and there you go. So like the same attributes from that clip is now on that clip without having to go through every individual clip and add all those effects one by one. Another thing that's really good to get into the habit of doing is adding J-cuts or overlapping your audio. So this is an example of how I would do this. So I'd click on this clip here and I would detach the audio from it, and I would just drag the video back a little bit here. Maybe drag that out a little bit, just like that. And then you're left with this. And optimized for making YouTube content. If you want a couple of specific suggestions for cameras, obviously I did that, I retook that line, but you get the picture. So it's where the audio starts before the next clip. But also just a really good habit of getting into doing is if you're cutting up lots of little cuts within clips, if you're retaking a lot, just drag the ends of the audio like this and just put a little fade on there and a fade on the beginning as well. And it just blends all the audio together, so there's no cut sounds, there's no clipping in your audio. And the last thing you need to get into the habit of doing as a beginner video editor is to use B-roll. B-roll is your friend. It can cover up anything. So for example, the difference between these two clips, I'm in different surroundings, the lighting's a little bit different, I need to cover that up so it's not so harsh. So what I would do is take some B-roll here, just find the point I want to go from, cut that, drag that across, and because I have shot this in 50 frames per second, I can slow this down 50%, so then I can do this. And optimized for making YouTube content. If you want a couple of specific suggestions for cameras, click in. There's me getting frustrated, but yeah, there you go. You can see the B-roll is covering those clips really, really nicely, and it just adds a cinematic element to the whole video. It makes it look more professional, makes you look like you know what you're doing. So to recap, let's make sure as video editors, we are not using footage from a memory card straight on to Final Cut Pro. You need to copy that across to an external drive. Try and keep your footage as organized as possible. That way it just quickens your workflow and it just makes things a lot easier to see where all your footage is and your audio, and it just makes the editing process loads simpler. Use keyboard shortcuts, it can save so much time in the edit, or using B-roll to cover cuts or changing locations or to just accentuate a point in your video. It can take your video visually from being a little bit boring to a lot more exciting, a lot more engaging for the viewer. So these are a few things that you can apply to your day-to-day editing process. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope I've helped you out. As always, if you have any questions, get at me in the comments. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.